Once again, if you're just now tuning in, this is Helena D. on behalf of the New York Public Cafe. Welcome to Essential Workers. We're just now waiting for some more people to sign on before we go on. You don't want to miss this show. Please make sure you are sharing this link on your Facebook pages and your Instagrams and everything you got going on in social media. If you hear a dog barking, do not panic. That is my dog Smokey. Okay. Okay, I see some people here. Hopefully everybody can hear us well. Hey, Vanessa. Rachel, I hope you can hear me. Rachel, I hope you can hear me. I see you over there. Selena, I hope you can hear me. Jenny, I hope you can hear me. Hey, Jay. Hey, Sammy. Jasmine. Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me. Now, we would like to thank the NEA, the New York State Council on the Arts, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, Amazon Literacy Partnership, and the New York Community Trust for sponsoring our free online events for the New York Public Cafe. You can support us with a tax-deductible donation at www.newyork.org. All the information is right there in the participation chat, or you can check out our Cash App at New York Public Cafe. You know, when this whole COVID-19 stuff started, I was doing my play, Call Me Crazy, Diary of a Mad Social Worker. The show was sold out, and we had to cancel that show and everything else that we had going on at the New York Public Cafe. Not only has the cafe been hit hard, but everybody that I know that is a performer, all the theaters, everything is going on. Everybody is just trying to get through this, and we're trying to be creative in this process. So shout out to the New York Public Cafe for reaching out to me, for asking me to do this show, Essential Workers. I was like, hey, I have no problem with supporting New York Public Cafe because the cafe has always been good to me. And if you can, please make a donation, because when this is over with, we're coming back even bigger, better, and stronger than before. But we want to make sure that we have a place to go to after the COVID-19 crisis, or whatever this new normal is going to be for us. Okay, let me see. I got all of my participants on here. Emily, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go through with the show. All right, now I just got the green thumb, or should I say the the Zoom thumb, saying that we can move forward with the show. Let me turn down my little music I was trying to play for y'all. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Helena D. I'm the former host of the New York Public Cafe Versus. It was for 10 years. I hosted this event on the first Saturday of every month. I've also have hosted Open Mic Mondays. I am also a former proud member of the New York 2000 National Slam Team. I know what you're thinking. How old is she? I moisturize, okay? We place third in the nation. That means we beat out, I don't know how many different teams from across the country and overseas to become third in the nation. And I'm very, very proud that I have that in my list of things that I have accomplished in my lifetime. When I was contacted by the New York Public Cafe and they asked me, could I do something online for them? I was like, contact me after this date, May 18th, and then we'll see what we can do. For those of you who know me, you know that I've been in school for my doctorate, Doctor of Social Work. I'm officially Dr. Helena D. Lewis. I've also named Nathan P. an honorary doctor because he was the person that I talked to almost every day about school, work, and all this jazz. And during the pandemic, he gave me additional phone privileges, and he told me I can call him after midnight.
Right on.
So what I have for y'all today that I'm so proud to announce, I have people that are dear to my heart, that I know have been working on the front lines, that I know are administrators who had to do incredible things like within an hour or two to ensure that people graduated on time. I have Rashid's son is on here. I have Dr. Erica Globe Black. I call her Dr. E, so you might be hearing me say that a lot. Nathan P, for those of you who don't know, he's the former host of the Friday Night Slam at the New Rican Poets Cafe. Nathan P, how long was you hosting that Friday Night Slam?
Oh, well, I did the Wednesday night for 5 years, and then the Friday night for 2 years.
7 years. 7 years.
7 years altogether.
And for those of you in the business who know, okay, we refer to him as the legendary Nathan P. Okay.
Well, now we're referring to you as Dr. HDL. Congratulations, my dear.
Thank you, thank you. It still seems funny, like I was at work and somebody said doctor, and I kept walking, right? And they was like, Dr. Helena, you don't hear me? I was like, oh, he's talking about me. So I'm still trying to acclimate. The only thing that seems to be different right now is my email is getting flooded with requests for presentations and workshops and certain things. And it literally was like, doctor. Then it was like, hey, we need you for all these things. I was like, okay. But it is, but I'm still the same goofy Helena D. Lewis. You know, if you need me, reach out to me. I got your back. I ain't got no money, okay, yet, but I got your back. Raul Rios, I want to give him a shout out. He's another essential worker. I'm gonna put his business out there because he put it out there on Facebook. But in this process, he contracted COVID-19. He's doing well. He's back at work. I'm glad to see you. He's out there with the mask. I'm hoping that he'll say some things as well. I also have on here the fabulous Andres Chuli. I can't say enough.
Chulisi.
Chulisi. I say Chulo Vision. Am I saying that correctly?
It's Chuli Vision.
Chuli Vision. Oh,
yeah.
But let me tell you, I cannot tell you how many Facebook Lives and Instagrams that he did that just spoke to my heart directly as a frontline worker. Like I heard everything he was saying about taking care of his mother, trying to be safe, everything that he was doing online. And Mr. Shulisi.
Yes.
Rodriguez. I'm so thankful that you was able to be on here as well. Lakeesha Eure, she will be signing on a little later around 7:30, 7:45 p.m. She is an essential worker as well. And she's also a trauma specialist. Raul, you out? Okay. She's a trauma specialist, and I felt that she needed to come on here because, baby, if you didn't have some mental health issues before this, you know, some of us are going to need some additional support afterwards. So I asked her to come in, and also I found out that the number of people who are being victimized, or I hope I'm saying this correctly, please forgive me, this isn't my scope of practice. Domestic violence rates are like skyrocketing right now. And I don't know why it didn't click in my head that it was, maybe because I work with inmates and that wasn't where my mind was at. But when I found this, I wanted to find somebody who dealt with that population, who was on the front line, who was a trauma specialist, to come in and talk a little bit about what she was doing. So she'll be tapping in a little later. Okay, now with that being said and done, I want to get right into the programming. After everybody performs, we're going to have a panel discussion. But I just want to say this, some of us, because of where we work at, we can't mention specifically for legal reasons where we work at, and because it would cause us to lose our jobs. But trust me when I say, I know every person on this panel personally, and they are frontline workers, okay? Whether they're working in New York or they're working in New Jersey, they are frontline workers, and I value everything that they did at the onset of the pandemic, everything that they're doing now, and everything that they're gonna be doing moving forward with this new normal. See the quotations, new normal, because I don't know what that's going to mean for all of us. And to everybody that's here to listen to what we have to say, thank you so much. Like I said, towards the end, we're going to have a panel discussion. You can type your questions in the chat, or you can raise your Zoom arm. I don't know how that works. I'm sure Emily will help me, and we can and speak as well. We want to hear your stories. We want to process. We want to heal together, and we want to be a family together, because no one knows what I have to go through when I leave this house to go to work. Got to put on personal protective devices, and I'm afraid the whole time I'm at work, what I'm going to bring home to my family. You know, or I get done doing a 16-hour shift and I have to self-isolate for another 2 weeks because I'm afraid that I might bring something to my father who lives on the second floor of my house. You know, most of y'all know me. I know I take care of my father. He's 91, going on 25. You know, when this whole, because I'm afraid that I might bring something to my father. I'm hearing some feedback, so I hope Emily can take care of that, what we have to do. So we're going to be discussing a lot of that, all right? I'm going to say no subject is off limits. I asked the performers to share what they felt like sharing. Some will be sharing about work. Some will be sharing about other topics that they wrote before work. And I was like, bring it. Bring it, bring it, bring it. Not only are we essential workers, we are also people in the arts. And I believe that artists make the world go around. So with that being said and done, I have the pleasure of bringing to the Zoom stage, I got that, the Zoom stage, that's what I'm gonna say, our first performer. His name is Rashad's son. On a personal note, when I started my MSW program, he was the first person to come up to me and say, it's going to be all right. And I was like, he was correct. Okay. Born and raised in the city of Passaic, New Jersey, as Rayvon L. Wilson. Oh, he's giving y'all his government name, y'all. Woo! And deeply affected by the culture of hip hop and the environment in which he was reared. Hip hop MC, poet Rashad's son began writing poetry/rhymes in 1980 at the tender age of 9 years old. Despite being presented with immeasurable odds, his education has been the foundation of his growth and development. Rashad's son has earned an Associate of Science degrees in early childhood education and social science from Essex County Community College. He also has his Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology and his Master's of Social Work degree from Rutgers University. Shout out to Rutgers University. He has graced numerous stages, as well as the world famous Apollo Theater and the annual show and Proof Conference of the Nation of Gods and Earth, as well as shared the microphone with various hip hop greats like Brand Nubian, Erykah Badu, Big Daddy Kane, and the late great Amiri Baraka, to name a few. In addition to all of the above, Rashid's son is the executive producer of his own recording company, Irresponsible Music LLC, and publishing company, I Write Because I Suffer Incorporated. You can reach him out at his Facebook page, Rashad's son, his Gmail, and his Instagram, which I will be posting in the chat as he is performing. Mr. Son, thank you so much for your participation. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything else that you want to share before you start? Like, what was you doing at the start of the pandemic?
Listen, professionally, I am a social worker. I am the local office manager of the DC PNP office in East Orange. So I'm responsible for a staff of over 100 individuals. So yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic, you know, I was planning and strategizing, of course, first and foremost, on how to keep my people safe, but also how to navigate through this pandemic and how we're going to ensure that the children and the families that we serve are still served, and, you know, ensuring that they're safe as well. So yeah, it was a lot of planning and strategizing that continue into this minute. Work never ends, work never stops. So yeah, that's the role that I play, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my staff who are committed to the work. So yeah, we continue on and we're gonna make the best of it.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to you sharing, and everybody can hear our hope, and take us on a ride, man. Take us on this ride.
Let's go. Everybody take a minute to breathe. What does I can't breathe really mean? Does it mean that if I scream, you take the opportunity to squeeze until I breathe one last time? Now imagine me being scared of a nigga that breathed the same air as me. Imagine me being scared of a nigga with a gun that has the audacity to be scared of me. But nigga, you got the gun, and nigga, you got the badge, and nigga, you got the authority, and yeah, you the nigga because you're never in good graces ever real, except for being real wrong about how you deal with the direct descendants of George Stinney and Emmett Till. Now, how do you kill a man that cries for his deceased mama? How do you know that you're live on camera, but you still dig your knee in his throat just a little bit harder? Then you readjust your position so you can get a little bit more comfortable and dig your knee in his throat just a little bit harder. I harbor no ill feelings, so don't deem my anger as ill. Matter of fact, I say with a big smile, I hope this motherfucker get killed. Not shot either, because bullets ain't good enough for his demise. Terrence Floyd should choke this motherfucker until his brain oozes out his eyes, and tell him, take a deep breath because you don't have another left. I'm coming back like I'm revenging my brother's death. We have no faith in the system. An arrest don't equal a conviction. What he did ain't worthy of prison. For what he did, he ain't worthy of living. So it's a given how I'm feeling. Burn the precinct, burn the building. Save the babies, teach the children that this country thinks they're villains. And until then, we're gonna rebel, not riot. And if you keep quiet, we're gonna think that you like it. But if you like it, then we love it. We're gonna give it to you rougher until the black man's an overcomer. Then everybody's gonna suffer. And oh yeah, it ain't over, motherfucker. Thank you.
All right, all right, all right. Clap it up. Wave like this, you
I
can get
say.
the video. Wave your hands like this, you can see them, you can see them. Let me see if I could, Rashad.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece. You know, I mean, so many of us have been impacted by what's going on right now with George Floyd, but not just him, just like, you know, there's thousands, there's hundreds of names that were not recorded on camera. And not to be all political, but the smugness of this man face, he knew he was being recorded, the knee was still on the neck, and he was like, I'm not moving. You know, so I'm so grateful to see people just protesting around the world. Black, white, orange, purple, young, old. I mean, if we're going to change what's going on in the world, we have to stick together because the power is not with the people. It's with the top people with the money. And I'm not one of them. Okay. You have more pieces for us, I hope?
I do. But yeah, that piece, you know, was of course inspired, as you indicated, by, you know, the tragic murder of countless individuals, George Floyd being one of too many. So actually, the title of that piece was called Blackout Tuesday. So it was definitely inspired by that campaign. So yeah, so unfortunately, it had to be written, but fortunately, it has to be expressed, you know. So the next piece I will be doing is called Get Away with Murder. And in the same similar vein as Blackout Tuesday, I wrote this particular piece 5 years ago in light of the death of Michael Brown. So yeah, here we go, Get Away with Murder. Put your hands up in this bitch. This is poetry for everybody that ever got stopped by the pigs, police and graves, because they're mentally dead, using their power to shoot dead everybody that they see as a threat, but not everybody. Just every black man and every black hood and every black should learn the first rule of engagement. Don't say shit. Roll all your windows down. Place your hands on the steering wheel. And if you're walking down the street, yield. Keep still. Because any sudden move will prove that you're placing yourself at risk of being maced, choked, shot, or killed, or all of the above. All of the above is actual fact. Ask Eric Gardner, or you can't. Ask Michael Brown Jr., or you can't. Ask Amadou Diallo, or you can't. I should say that shit 41 times, but I can't. Fathom the thought or gather my thoughts around anybody possibly murdered by the ones that's supposed to protect my well-being. But if you were sitting here to protect us, then who protects us from the aim of your infrared beams? Ask Fred Hampton, the Black Panthers, or they even had a sting on Dr. King, the 12 years of life of Tamir Rice. Y'all remember Philip Purnell? Well, I do. He was only 16 when Teaneck police thought running away was a reason to shoot him in the back. And the medical examiner lied and said he was shot because he was trying to shoot back. Well, you can't shoot back if you have no reason to shoot back. Tell Larry Davis he ain't have a reason to shoot back. And if I shoot you, that's another black on black funeral. But if you shoot me, that's just another paid leave away from work. In the regular world, we call that shit vacation. There's a civil disturbance at your local police station because we want the chief and sergeant to give us an explanation. We ain't niggas in your plantation. We ain't accepting your misinformation. Before Lauryn Hill was miseducated, so was Carter G. Wilson. Before Cosby was deemed ungodly, y'all was still eating chocolate Jell-O pudding. Did you find it erotic that he was only the spokesman for chocolate Jell-O pudding? Why not vanilla? Pardon me. These cops are like gorillas. Now these cops are like killers. Not all cops are bad cops. There's some good cops. I hear you. But if there's good cops and no bad cops that ain't doing nothing about it, then y'all look familiar. The same damn thing. The same damn pigs dressed in blue. Looking at you like who you know what until you show and prove. Don't move. You have the right to remain violent. I have no choice but to remain silent because a dead man can't speak and the grand jury won't indict. So their attitudes of black lives is on fleek, so to speak. Black lives matter. Matter of fact, for every murder committed, they get away with it.
All right, all right, all right, all right. What do they say? Go in, son. Hey, Emily, is there any way that I can unmute all the mics at one time after someone does a poem so that if they want to clap and cheer and thumbs up, he can hear? I know you said you got, you feeling, I'm feeling the love in the chat room.
Feeling the energy.
You feeling the energy? You feeling it? You feeling it? Okay, all right, y'all.
Yeah, I'm feeling the energy. So yeah, so that poem, Get Away with Murder, I think is self-explanatory. But again, yeah, it's in the same vein of the climate that we're in today. Unfortunately, during that time when I wrote it, of course, we were dealing with the tragic death of Michael Brown Jr. and Eric Gardner, and again, so many others. So yeah, I think it's a timeless subject that hopefully will motivate others to think and react appropriately in the presence of police officers. Not all of them have good intentions, but in my opinion, being a police officer, there's no room for error. It's a very, just no room for error. There should be no such thing as bad police officers, so, yeah.
Okay.
I have one more piece if that's okay.
Yes, that is okay.
Okay. This poem is dedicated to Bunchy Carter. I'm the poetical answer to the Panthers written in the stanza of nationalism. I'm metaphorical activism with a degree that's after wisdom. My understanding is candid, standing in the posture of a mobster, right foot forward, hand in my pants pocket. I rocket the cosmic concoctions, cocky as Kanye. Killing it most deaf like my first name was Dante. Giving y'all the blueprint like I married Beyonce. But if I was a Carter, trust me, y'all call me Bunchy. One of the fathers of political martyrs, artists behind the mind of thinkers. I inhale ether like reefer, deeper than Milana Karinga. If I was a singer, I'd be Donny Hathaway the day before he passed away. Thinking the devil trying to steal his music away. I'm Phyllis Hyman after fighting her demons. I'm the evening after I.D. Davis started reading the eulogy of Malcolm. I'm Stokely Carmichael shouting, Black Power. I'm the hour after the towers was hit. I'm the spit that fell from Martin's lips while singing He Shall Overcome. I'm the drum patterns that gathered Africans together. I stood next to the pallbearer that carried Marcus Garvey's coffin. I walked the same streets that Noble Drew Ali was walking. I talked the same shit as Richard Pryor prior to Freebasing. I'm the mason that built the brick that built this building where I'm standing. I'm Sammy Davis Jr. dancing. I'm Billie Holiday in the room at the Holiday Inn with a needle in her arm. My palm rubbed the log at the Apollo Theater the same night they opened the doors of the Disco Fever. I'm Otis Redding after Aretha sang his song Respect, especially since he didn't live long enough to get a publishing check. I'm a Vietnam vet with post-traumatic stress. I'm KRS. I'm a Tribe Called Quest. I'm DJ Jazzy Jeff back when Will Smith was fresh. Prince, singing Purple Rain in a black snowstorm. I'm the warning shot that tell you to kick rocks like you kickbox. I'm Detroit Red and Red Fox. I'm Tupac doing the Humpty. I'm Nefertiti on a monthly. I'm the rusty blade that the barber would use to give you a fade. Now the back of your neck look like Forrest Whitaker's face. And you need medical aid. I'm Medicaid. I'm the slave that escaped but got caught at the gate, then watched his daughter get raped and sold to the Lex estate. I'm an 8-track cassette tape wrapped in duct tape. I'm a Jamaican dub plate. I'm a plate of soul food. Whatever your mood, I'm the one to include. I'm Gandhi, Huey, Obama, all wrapped in the same dude. Peace.
All right, all right, all right. Let me get the waves up because I still not acclimated to the Zoom buttons. Feeling all of that. I'm the hour after the tower hit. Wow, I'm still in that. Just like you know, you heard it from me right now. I'm still in that, and he says it again, I'm gonna sue him for copyright infringement because that's how trifling people do. Oh my God! Thank you so much for sharing your pieces with us. I know you're gonna be sticking around for the panel discussion, right? Because I have lots and lots and lots of discussion questions that I hope we can get to. All right, the next performer. You know what? I'm struggling not to say coming to the microphone. Nathan, can you feel me on that? I'm trying not to say coming to the microphone. The next performer coming to Zoom cyberspace is a very, first of all, I'm going to read her bio, but I just want y'all to know how she personally impacted me and my journey to becoming what I now refer to as a theatrical scholar-practitioner. So this young lady, when I first started the DSW program at Rutgers University, she wasn't part of the faculty. At the second year, she walked in and I was like, who is this fabulously dressed young lady? Like, you know, sometimes I think when people think about administrators and people in college who have certain roles, sometimes we think they should look a certain way. She, not only does she breaks all the molds, she is the most understanding, most down to earth, one of the most educated women that I've ever met in my entire life. I still remember her first lecture and I was like, you know, I never thought about ethics when it comes to, you know, certain, like, what if somebody is like terminally ill? What's the ethics? What's the protocol? What's the procedures? And it made me think about my job in so many different ways. And when I would get a little, I don't want to say discouraged with the program or like, cause it's a lot of work. She never said anything negative to us. She always was so uplifting. And you can tell when somebody talked to Dr. E at at school. They just sounded better. They felt like the world was going to be all rainbows and blue skies, and you just felt like, hey, we're going to get through this together. And I just want to thank you, Dr. E, because I know how much you have impacted me and ASA and all the other members of my cohort. And I'm sure the second year students, woo, I love them to death too. But let me read her official bio. Dr. Erica Goldblatt Hyatt is an academic administrator and private psychotherapist with over 15 years of experience specializing in death, dying, and grief. Her work focuses on helping women who have experienced the loss of a pregnancy, particularly women who have had an abortion due to fetal abnormality. I have my retainer in my mouth. Please excuse me, y'all. Okay. Her first love, however, is writing and performing. Prior to her career in social work, she was trained in classical opera. Wow, I didn't know that. She continues to write and publish poetry and is a mother of 3 earthly babies and 1 heavenly baby. Please clap it up for one of my mentors and somebody that I want to keep in my life forever and forever, the fabulous Dr. Erica Goldblatt Hyatt. Woo!
Thank you. I'm so excited to be able to do this because the only way that I've been able to get through this crisis has been through writing. There have been so many days where I didn't think I could get out of bed and looking at the world and knowing that there's patients and students to take care of, and getting up and just writing and writing and writing. So what I wanted to do is share a poem that I wrote on one of those days where I couldn't get out of bed, and just expressing my feelings about what has been going on. So here it goes. Today is a sad day, a day I could do little but cry, where sweeping a floor or pulling up pants or breaking up fights is too much, where the weight of Black men's bodies in this world is less currency than ever. And I'm reminded of the bodies of my own ancestors piled high in concentration camps, heaped on top of each other by prisoners, swooped like my children's bodies on bottoms on their happy swing sets into mass graves, light-boned but heavy. A country where masks represent not love and care for others, but a threat to freedom, is somehow the same country where my tender-hearted son slips me a note that says, I understand you are having a sad day, I love you. Never more perfect, these exaggerated letter Ds and winged Es, and what do I have for him in return in a false new normal? Where we argue in armchairs over wounds and weapons while the ventilators strain and snake their tubes together, desperately pumping into prone bodies that represent a reasonable sacrifice so we can return to funnel cakes and footballs. Because the rules don't seem to apply to white women with off-leash dogs, or fat-faced presidents and pundits who lie as easily as they roll over into their wives and mistresses in their world without consequences. I hate them. And yet my career, my own currency is love. Today is a sad day. I push away the distance learning, the guilt over the detritus lining the corners of my unkempt house, my own body that shakes and heaves with the implicit fear that I am nothing and none of this has meaning. The opposite of what I tell those who come to me open-handed and vulnerable for help. Today I acknowledge that all I'm doing is breathing. Thank you. Helena, I think you're muted.
That was wow. Really?
Yes, she is.
How did I mute myself? You know, I've
Lord
been
have
over
mercy.
here digging around with the controls, and I'm just whatever.
Now
Powerful.
you know
Yes.
that
What-
when I got up and I went like this,
Saw you.
listen, young lady. And I don't give out compliments.
No, he does not. No, he does not. Wow. Okay. All right. 1 down, 2 to go. Y'all ready? Because we We going on this ride together.
All right, I got one more. And this is something that I wrote in 2012. I was expecting my first child, and he was diagnosed with an anomaly. His airway didn't form. And as a result of that, he was both living and dying inside of me. And so we made the decision to end the pregnancy. And on the 6-year anniversary of his death, I wrote this, and it's called Nearly 6 Years. It has been nearly 6 years since you were cut out of me, since I first read the pathology report, where I noticed your 1.5 centimeter foot, consistent with 19 weeks gestation, though you died at 20, I feel it's important to note. 6 years since we named you and cremated you, and I secured your ashes in a box and rationed some into a locket that dangles, a humble guardian from the doorframe in the corner of a room where has guided your surviving siblings to sleep. A tiny totem etched with a hummingbird, though I imagine you now dark as a crow and strong and cawing and clever and majestic, larger than life, certainly larger than allowed to be. Shiny, oily black feathers, a beak to pluck tools from the ground to dig graves and seek food. Did you know that crows mourn their dead? I think I read that once. In these nearly 6 years, I have tried my best to grieve you. I have advocated and I have marched. I have therapized and I have narrated. I have written and written and written and told your story, justifying my choice to whom? Admittedly, I am my own audience. I have sobbed and screamed into your memory, and I've used you as an excuse, tiny baby. I have tried my best to really grieve this loss, but you continue to be a step ahead. Your flaking pieces living inside a box beside my bed. A white box with your name and date of death printed out on a paper that's now creasing and yellowing. And even the font is beginning to dilate with time and humidity. Standard issued by the Delaware Valley Crematorium that I dust every few months and reposition the delicate angel statue above. One time Remy grabbed the statue and it fell, and it smacked against the radiator behind the table, and while I imagined some of the clay would snap off, or that the muted face of the angel would pop off the body, it was only the bent wire wings that dislodged, so I frantically tried to stick them back in, but the hole they sat in was too big, and the wire was too thin, so I've given up on replacing them. These pieces of you, they proved to me that you existed, that you had enough bone to burn, that you grew human pieces, though incorrectly, that stump of a trachea that blunted off, the overblown lungs stretched to capacity, maybe like fragile trink translucent bubblegum, the diaphragm traveling the wrong way like an inverted balloon. Those were the broken pieces we could see. The distorted chromosomes, I imagine, like ill-fitting puzzle pieces jammed together by impatient toddler hands on a carpeted floor, creating a warped picture without much true fit, a mottled and forced collage that lies flat on the ground or a table but cannot be picked up or moved because the pieces will detach and cling half-heartedly to each other like a barrel of monkeys if you try to carry them. There are also perfect, synchronous, seamless pieces. Your sweet little fingers on the 3D ultrasound that covered your sweet little face in the darkness of my body, living and dying inside me, living and dying inside me. I wore hospital-issued baby blue fuzzy socks with bubbly, sticky white V-shaped treads and a seam along the toe that never sat in the right place. As I padded down the hall attached to an IV pole, like an overwhelmed child guided by her mother at the mall amid sensory overload, holding the arm of the kind anesthesiologist, because I'd already received the first dose that would allow me to lie on the table, arms spread out and away from my body like a death row inmate, but beneath gentle, sympathetic, masked figures with kind eyes who quickly set to work. And then I woke up and you didn't exist anymore. My therapist told me to let you go, to spread your ashes because I'm stuck. And the academic, the scholar of bereavement in me wanted to scream at her, you don't know about grief the way I do. There's no such thing as pathological grief. It's healthy to have these ashes. But the truth of the matter is, I'm afraid she's right. Thank you.
Damn. Woo. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can see what I'm saying. I see people wiping tears, snapping, clapping. powerful on so many levels. Powerful on so many levels. Emily, I haven't figured out how to unmute everybody. The last time I did, I messed around and muted myself.
She said,
Yes, you did.
you had enough bone to burn. Yo.
Mhm.
My dear, I think you should take some time and put some of those essays into some writer's hands because that was serious.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Eve, you have published a book of poetry, or your work has been published?
That one poem was published, yeah, that one that I
Mhm.
just read.
Mhm.
Ah.
So
Well, thank God I wrote down your name.
I guess what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing in the Zoom universe is a need for you to write more and maybe have a book. Look at Raul shaking his head. Let me unmute Raul real quick. Let me unmute. Raul, you know how to unmute yourself?
Of course he
Hi.
can. He can do anything he can. He can do everything he can.
Listen,
How's everybody doing?
hey Raul. Raul doesn't generally like a lot of stuff, but I saw him the whole time you was doing your piece, like just shaking his head. That's just shaking his head.
Yeah, it was dope. It was really dope. It hits home in the sense where one of my daughters was told she only had 365 days to live, but gave us 10 years.
Mhm.
So every day between birth and 365, we worried. We worried. After 366, we said, God is in your hands.
Mhm. Mhm.
10 years.
Thanks for sharing that, Raul. And the social worker in me is has to say.
Helena, you muted yourself again. You muted yourself again. Girl, you muted yourself again.
Okay, I feel like the Zoom universe does not like me. Okay, I'm just saying the social work. I feel like this is the inner shenanigans when I check in with the audience. If anybody wants to process, let me know. We can process before we move on. I don't want anybody bugging out. Okay, and I just want to say a couple of things. The courage that it takes to get online or publish or speak in front of people you don't know. Like for those of you who don't do this, you don't understand. Like it's a lot to put your whole world and your universe out there. Okay. On normal days, not in the middle of the pandemic, but even on normal days. Rashad son, I know you know what I'm talking about. Okay. On normal days. Get a word. I see you. Okay, all right. We gotta keep the show and I just want to say everybody who joined, we're doing a panel discussion afterwards. Everyone that's on this ticket is an essential worker. Yes, I will be doing a poem or two, okay, but everybody works in the field. Everybody was a frontline worker. Everybody had to do unbelievable, amazing things at the onset of this pandemic. They're still doing things. Raul, I talked a little bit about you before you even got on. I know you are on the front lines. We talked a lot. Next thing I know, Raul was sick. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? You know, I managed to stay negative, but so many people that I know that's on the front lines, they have tested positive. They go in the hospital on Monday. They come out 3 weeks later. They lost like 100 pounds. Or they go in, they get put on these ventilators. Like I've never known people to go on ventilators. They turn them to lay on your stomach. Like that's some serious stuff right there. You know, so we wanted to put this night together for essential workers to celebrate not just the doctors, the nurses, but the social workers, the frontline workers, the Uber drivers, everybody on the front line. And this event is being brought to you by the New York Poets Cafe. That's not what I wanted to read. Let me read. That's not what I wanted to read, but I will find it soon, okay? If you can, please donate to the New Rican .org website. We have a Cash App, you know, the Cash App, little money, Nuyorican Poets Cafe. The Nuyorican and so many other theaters have been hit hard by this pandemic. I consider it an honor to be able to come and represent the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I've been performing there for, oh my God, 2 decades, over 2 decades. I moisturize. And my play, Call Me Crazy, Diary of a Mad Social Worker, my show in March was sold out. And as you know, the pandemic hit and that was the end of the show. I see your shenanigans shirt, Raul. I see your shenanigans shirt. I will find the sponsors and all the thank yous again, because I think we need to put that out there, because some people were like, bump the arts. But I'm like, art makes the world go round. Like when you look to people who are changing the universe, to me, it always starts with the artist. Like we're ringing the alarm bells. Like this is not right. Even with the death of George Floyd, like for decades, I was trying to literally think of one Black male poet that I knew who did not have a poem about being stopped by the police. I couldn't think of not one person. You know, I've been stopped a couple of times as well, you know, but you know, what I don't have versus somebody, you know, it's by the grace of God, you know, but we have to heal the world. And I think it's up to the poets and the artists and the writers. It's up to us to get the world in the healing process. I want to keep the microphone. I want to keep the Zoom event going with this next performer. We call him the legendary Nathan P. At one point in time, he retired and we had to refer to him as quotation. That lasted about 6 months. And then he's no longer retired. I don't know what he is, you know, because every time I see him, he's performing or can I introduce you? He's semi-retired, but he's a frontline worker. He cannot mention where he works at due to legal reasons and the fact that he might get fired. But I know him personally. I know what he has to do. And we have had many conversations about traveling by subway to work and being safe at work and just trying to survive to the next day. Because this is what I felt as the pandemic, you know, increased and people were dying. Many of my workers and people that I know in the field, we were just trying to survive to the next day. And Nathan P., you know I love you. And like I said, he has his honorary doctorate as well, because he was the person who had to talk me off of the edge. I don't know how many times, from my MSW program to me getting my LCSW to me becoming Dr. Helena D. Lewis, DSW. I salute you, Nathan P. And after all this, we gonna go somewhere to eat.
Yeah.
All right.
Dr. HDL.
Honorary Dr. Nathan P.
Yes, ma'am. Love you to pieces. So proud of you. And so ecstatic you have so many people in your support system. You know, if they're not officially doctors like Dr. E, then let's all claim that honorary status because we help get you through. Known HDL for a good 21 years, all through the Nuyorican Poets Cafe.
When he accidentally beat me in a slam.
Yeah, I accidentally beat her by being accidentally better that night. But oddities of oddities, believe it or not, I have not written in a long time. And looking at what's going on in the world today between the pandemic and all the things happening to our Black people, for me, it got to the point, how many different ways can I write about the same thing? Because the first time I touched on a lot of those things was back in '99 with a little piece called Madness. And it touched on so many aspects. You know, that poem mentioned Louima and Diallo, as well as the aftermath of OJ. And a little later down the line, it was the Jenna Six, if you remember that group.
Yep.
And the tagline from that was, "We've gone from the Jackson 5 to the Jenna 6. It's 2007 and we're still marching." A few years ago, there's a piece called "The Gray Skies Over Baltimore," you know, dedicated to Freddie Gray. And it's just, to a point, sometimes as an artist, you find yourself rehashing and rewriting what's already been done when you just let what's been done stand alone and bring it back and share again. In one aspect, I'm a legendary legend, but in another aspect, I am technically not inclined. I can't even read those poems if I wanted to because they're buried someplace on a phone that I can't find. And any recent things that I wrote is on the phone that I'm using to be in the Zoom, so I don't know how to come out the Zoom to bring up the memos to be able to read or share with you. But just wanted to let you know that in a little story to go back in time. I'm 56, and one of the first times it really dawned on me that we're not out of this era, that nothing is really in the past, is when I did the math one year and realized I was 4 years old when Martin Luther King died. You know, so I said, wow, that happened in my lifetime. Never imagined my lifetime would experience this lifetime between a global shutdown and global unrest. And for the first time, seeing so many states, cities, countries, nationalities standing behind something that we've been screaming out for centuries. I remember being a kid, my parents are from South Carolina, and every summer was a road trip. And I thought it was cool. We get in the car, and Mom would make the fried chicken wings, wrap it in foil so it'd be a little soggy. And then you have the white bread, and we have a cooler full of Kool-Aid and punch and fruits and stuff. And I thought that was the way to travel. And it wasn't until, matter of fact, maybe 10 years ago, when my sister, bless her soul, love you, Nadine, she explained to me, so you don't realize why Mommy did that? Because we were traveling south, and we couldn't stop in the restaurants. We were barred because we were Black. And I never realized, because through a kid's eyes, it just seemed like a normal adventure. But I do remember one episode, it was notorious when you would drive 95 and like through the southern states and you're just speeding. And I remember one time, the trooper pulled my father over. And I never saw him so, he wasn't a loud man, he wasn't an aggressive man, but I never saw him so docile and quiet. And as I got older and I reflected, you know, what it was all about.
You trying to stay alive.
Trying to stay alive. Trying to stay alive.
Trying to stay alive.
And I just hope that all of this is not in vain. It's so many names that you can't remember, so many names that they get lost in the news. And know another young brother was shot last night in Atlanta at a Wendy's drive-thru, killed, I should say, by the police. The chief resigned today behind that. You know, there's so much going on, but as a people, and I mean as human people, we come together to try to eradicate that, but most importantly, recognizing that it has to be more than words. You know, it has to be more than words. Words are the spark, but without action, you know, Dr. King's dream would never make it to reality. It wasn't just a dream. He woke up and took action. And that's what we all need to do, and that's what we're doing in our own way. You know, whether it's being on the front line marching, whether it's supporting a cause, whether it's just speaking a voice, but in our own way, we're doing it, and we're going to continue doing it, and it's going to be all right. I truly believe that.
Okay, Nathan P. I just want to make sure that I understand a couple of things. One, now that you testified, you're not doing no poems. Because you are technologically challenged, correct?
Well, all right. Dedicated to all the artists on the page and anybody on the planet with a different way of thinking.
All right.
That's what we need today. Chances are that you were blind and can't see the colors of my mind, so allow me to paint a picture for you. To know just what I mean, in my world, grass is not green and the sky is not just one shade of blue. You see, the colors of my mind more specifically define the way I see the world that's all around me. If I kept locked to myself, tucked away in a secluded shelf, I never dreamed expressing it could be so easy. Now, to enter into my world, you can be a boy or girl just as long as you have imagination. And if you take the time to open up your mind, I'll show you everything you want without hesitation. I'm talking about exposing my soul from my head down to my toes, all my hopes, fears, aspirations, and wishes. You see, we'll travel a journey deep, and when the trip's complete, we'll feast on a meal of food for thought that is delicious. You see, the colors of my mind allow me to speak and rhyme, because sometimes it's easy to say things with a song. But once you get a taste, you will return in quick haste. You see, you won't be able to stay away for too long. You see, the colors of my mind can get you drunk like wine, but don't worry, it won't cloud up your brain. But just the opposite, my friend, what will happen in the end, you'll never look at things quite the same. But don't worry, I'll watch you close. I don't want you to overdose. I want you to remember the experience. You see, the colors are oh so vivid. You'll enjoy it as you live it and start to see your way through all this worldly mess. Now, just so you understand, I'm nothing more than a man. I have sight, but in some ways, I'm still blind. But with all that being said, I'm still willing to open up and share a portrait of the colors of my mind.
Well, thank you, legendary Nathan P. And
Dr. L.
I would like to say, the New Rican Poets Cafe and Helena D. Lewis would like to thank the NEA, the New York State Council on the Arts, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, Amazon Literacy Partnership, and New York Community Trust for sponsoring our free online events. You can support us with a tax-deductible donation at the newrican.org website or via Cash App at the money sign New Rican Poets Cafe. Woo! See, I got to get that in. I got to make sure I get that in.
Great.
You know what I'm saying? You know, because there's nothing worse than being a host and you forget to shout out the sponsors. You be like, oh, that poem was hot. Oh my God, I felt that. What you say? The top is what? And they be like, did you make the announcement? You know, and you know what I was thinking about, Nathan, when you was testifying? Okay, I've been to almost every state, and I have been on the road, and I have gone places where I haven't seen another Black person for like 2 days, you know. And I remember this one incident. I was traveling with, I don't know if y'all remember, this is poetry history back in the day. It was Flo Mentos, Kirk Nugent, and Rob Hilton. We left Newark maybe around 1 p.m. by the time everybody got to my house and we got into the rental car. And we was in Florida. No, we were maybe like North Carolina, South Carolina. And we were speeding, I'm not gonna lie. But we ended up getting pulled over by a state trooper. And all of us, like when they pulled us over, we all did the same thing. My hands went like this on top of my head. All the fellas had their hands on top of the dashboard or on the steering wheel. And when the trooper came to the car, he was like, relax, where y'all coming from? And we was like, oh, we're trying to get to this show. And he was like, okay, y'all can put your hands down. We was like, no, we cannot, right? And so I want to say there are some good people out there. Like, we can't vilify all police officers, but I want everybody from the baby all the way up, we have to do things differently. And I work with incarcerated individuals, so I see the long-term impact of incarceration on so many different levels. And I thought that I would take the time to share one of my poems, if y'all don't mind. Even if you did mind, it didn't matter. I was going to do it anyhow. But this poem is called Engine Off. And without going into a lot of details, when I had my convertible, I was constantly getting pulled over. And one day they just pulled me over, and, you know, it's the same thing, hands on the wheel, X, Y, and Z. And I was on my way to the prison this day. And you can't bring in like personal stuff into the prison. I couldn't bring in my pocketbook. So when they pulled me over, my pocketbook was in the trunk of the car. I got pulled over for going, are y'all ready for this? 40 miles per hour in a 35 per mile hour zone. Never mind the fact the drug dealer was on the corner across the street. I got pulled over, but I got off that day with a warning only because I had a state ID. So I just want to put that out there. In my rearview mirror, I see flashing lights again. I've been stopped 3 times in 4 days, and this time I'm positive no lights have been ran, and no speed limits have been broken. I want to say they are all just doing their jobs, but at the same time, my inner diva has her hands on her hips, rolling her eyes saying, damn, can a sister get a break? Ain't nobody got time for this. That's what I get for not taking the long way. That's what I get for driving through the wrong part of town. That's what I get for inhaling and exhaling while black. I am not worried about having my vehicle searched or towed or anything like that. I am worried and focused about surviving this encounter. And my work ID has a get out of jail pass free attached to it. But it won't stop racial profiling, the bullets of a nervous cop, or my grave from being dug. Engine off, hands in plain view. I know the drill. Do not raise your voice. Do not make any sudden movements. Do not get out of the car. Do not. I teach it to the women inmates that I work with. They share with me stories of being shackled to hospital beds while giving birth, mandatory hysterectomies, and being raped, impregnated, and abused by prison staff. One of them fought back, decided not to swallow, and spit the evidence of her victimization into a cup as proof of her living nightmare. That landed her a transfer to solitary confinement. The vulnerable, the marginalized, the women with no future with the same past. In the back of my mind, I hear them telling me why they don't trust the police. And sometimes I want to say, I don't trust them either. And my inner diva be trying to make me say that, but that's not professional. On the inside, it's us against them. But on the outside, it's us against them. The cop that pulled me over is still in his car. He is obviously running my plates looking for a reason to escalate. I don't see a dashboard camera. My only witness if this traffic stop goes wrong. My voice if the tape is not mysteriously lost or damaged. He exits and approaches my vehicle. I can tell my inner diva is not happy. And all I can think of is every 40 hours, a black man, woman, or child is killed by the police, a security guard, or some type of law enforcement. My goal during this encounter, like the others, is to live to breathe another day. If the trigger is pulled and a bullet released into my dome, chances are there will be no marches and no one will remember my name. To showcase my face to those with white privilege will not promote the stereotypes of the angry black male to garner sympathy for my killer. So this black girl turned woman turned victim story would not be told on Fox, Channel 9, MSNBC, or anywhere else. My name will be forgotten along with 7-year-old Ayanna Jones, 60-year-old Ayanna Bumper, and 93-year-old Pearlie Golden. Now you tell me when did a 93-year-old and a 7-year-old become threats to men with guns dressed in blue? I mean, I can see if this was some type of post-zombie apocalyptic world and they had turned into flesh-eating zombies like in The Walking Dead, and they were rushing towards the police officers that shot and killed them, and they had no other choice but to defend themselves or become zombies. But that was not the case. Ayanna was shot while in her grandmother's arms after the police kicked in their door. And Miss Pearlie had dementia. Justice is not only blind, it is also sexist and racist. Engine off, hands in plain view. I know the drill. Do not raise your voice. Do not make any sudden movements. Do not get out of the car. Thank you. And
damn.
Okay, this next piece I want to share. I work at an agency that has a couple of different programs, and I don't know what I was doing. I might have been on Facebook, and I saw the number of women or men who are victims of domestic violence has been rising during this pandemic. And I was like, what? Why is that? You know, this is my own ignorance. And I was like, well, they can't leave the house. And where are they going to go? So I want to share a poem, very personal. A lot of people that know me, you know my history with my family and my father and stuff. So this is about, you know, growing up as a child who was knowledgeable of the fact that your mother was the victim of domestic violence. Maybe it's just me, Or the years I lived in turmoil, knowing at any given moment my father might use my mother's face as a place to rest his fists. And a remembrance of nervousness in my gut each time they argue, or the silence broken by her sobbing as she iced eyes that should have never been blackened. Maybe it's just me, or the years I spent not moving out because because she couldn't get out. So I played security to my mother's inability, sleeping lightly in case he chose to act out, on guard every time I smelled alcohol, patrolling the hallways of our home like a prison, always in search of something that could lead to trouble, or another black eye, like furniture being broken, cries of please stop, because no one thought he had a problem. And if he hit her, it was her fault. I mean, dinner should have been warm when he got home. Never mind the fact he was 3 hours late. Not to mention how everything she did was always wrong despite being perfect, like ordering chickpeas and spinach instead of chickpeas and cheese when she asked for chickpeas and spinach. Maybe it's just me. Or the years I spent working with abused women and feared their lives because they said I do. To a madman with a temper that long. And yes, in the beginning, it wasn't like that. And yes, in the beginning, he was loving and gentle. And yes, in the beginning, he promised to love, honor, and cherish. And then the mental abuse began. Why can't you do anything right? Why did I marry you? No one will want you but me. You're stupid. You don't listen to me. You made me hit you. You never do anything right. You answered the phone on the second ring instead of the first. You better not be cheating on me. You wear too much makeup. You look like a slut. It's 90 degrees here. Wear this sweater because I don't want other men looking at you. I don't want you hanging out with your friends. I don't like them. And the isolation for those who care to keep you in check has begun. Made you think it was all you when it was never you. It was just him. Maybe it's just me, but I like her too much not to poem this out. I'm concerned for her mental health and well-being not to speak this out, to keep what I know out of the ears of those who need to know this. So no, I can't hang out with your boy because the way he speaks to his wife flips my gut. And if she asks me for advice, I'm going to tell her, take your kids, divorce him, and take half his shit. Find a safe place where your mind can be free of his verbal assault. Find a safe place where your children won't grow up like I did. Find a safe place where your son won't learn how to abuse his wife like you. No man is worth your sanity. And if he can verbally slice and dice you like second nature, how long do you think before his words turn to blows and dark marks permanently stained under your eyes like my mother? You are too pretty to be abused. We are all too pretty to be abused. So use these words to dance to. The honeymoon is over. Thank y'all for listening to that. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right.
And you know what I want to say about this? I was hanging out with a friend of mine. I know a lot of people. Some of them are very famous. And I was at a very famous person home for dinner. And it was Thanksgiving dinner to be exact. And I was like, this lady is being abused. Like the wife was clearly the victim of domestic violence, mental, emotional abuse. And when I got home, I wrote that poem. And a friend of mine's, the guy was dating at the time, was like, I don't understand why you want to hang out with so-and-so. He's famous. I was like, fuck that shit. I was like, he can get it too. I don't care how many TV shows and movies he done. He can get it too. You know, so just because somebody is living that fabulous celebrity life don't mean they got secrets, you know. And I hope that when Keisha speaks a little later on, she'll be able to speak a little bit about that and what women are going through during this pandemic. I want to keep the Zoom show going with our next performer before we start the panel, and I have Lakeesha Eure speak. Andres Chulis Rodriguez. I've known him, I want to say since 2000. Since 2000 when I was doing the Glam Slam, and he has always been so supportive and so nice to me. I was recently reintroduced to him when my play, was it Call Me Crazy and Shenanigans was up and running at the New York Poets Cafe and at the Wild Project Theater. And he was one of the best stage managers that I ever think I've came across in my entire lifetime. And I was like, hey, it's me. And he was like, hey, it's me. And I felt like the years that I haven't talked to him were gone. Like, you know how sometimes you know somebody and you might not see them for a while, but then when you see them, it's like, it's on and popping, let's hang out. And if you haven't gone to his Instagram page, if you haven't, or you're not a friend of his Facebook, you need to do so. He sings, he writes, he performs, he gives the most passionate, I don't want to say monologues, because they are heartfelt talks to everybody in the universe about how we need to keep going through this pandemic and what he's dealing with as an essential worker during this pandemic. So please clap it up, wave your arms, get your Instagram Zoom thumbs up for the fabulous Mr. Rodriguez.
What's going on, people? How you doing? How you doing?
Right.
Helena, thank you for having me. I actually am having a very good time, actually. I'm impressed by what I've been hearing so far. Miss Erica, I'm still on you, baby. Wow. I'm still on you. I'm gonna perform 2 poems for today. One I wrote last week, and the last one is one that I wrote for quite a while. They both kind of meld into each other. For those who don't know me, my name is Andre Chulisi Rodriguez. You can find me on Facebook under Andre Chulisi Rodriguez. Instagram, I'm Chuliboo, CHULIBOO. I'm a little bit of everything, but I do specialize in monologue work and stuff. And I'm a poet. I've always been a poet. I'll always be a poet. No matter where I go back to poetry. Poetry is life. That's what it is for me. So without further ado, let me hit you guys off. Black, brown, caramel, mocha, coffee, cinnamon, tar, Nestle, sun-kissed honey, drenched molasses. Everything with taste is how you describe me. Everything ready to be immortalized on your palate, and yet here we are in 2020, and I still have to ask you, why do you fear my climb? Why are you subjecting yourself to imitate me out of bottles, perms, and lotions? I know that the sight of me stirs within you a desire to want to be, but you do realize that your history without me, my presence, my color, is pretty uneventful, bland, mundane. You can't conquer what's not yours, so you raped it, lied to it, beat it, and you still couldn't come up with your own history. You disguised it in wordplay, made it digestible to your foreign lips so that every time you pronounce it, it still sounds distant. You cannot strip me nor shame me for being Black. My texture is as rough as grit underneath fingernails that know of hard labor, of tender fields that were tilled till cuticles bled to quench dry earth. I come with ancestral songs underneath my feet, claiming space with each step that I take. Chaku cha, paraku chaku cha. Learning language that spirits hear for connection to their bloodkin. Ibarago mojuba. Ibarago ago mojubara. Omodeko ni ibarago ago mojubara. Elekba ochulona. My presence is birth. My face does increase with guilt nor concern, for I will continue to be mighty and majestic, laying trails for those coming, that they not experience our suffering but know of our struggle, that they remember we are warriors, a lineage laced in hope, a path in success, an uprising of mental state, that they learn to scream, I am brown, I am Black, I am here.
Ooh. You better hit him hard. Woo! Hit him hard.
You know me, girl, you know me.
I see everybody is clapping and thumbs up. Yes.
That was great.
Thank you, thank you,
I'm
thank you,
listening.
thank you.
Well, I'm out in the countryside here, in English countryside. But not many Black people here at all listening to that.
I'm sorry, did you just say you're in England?
I'm in England, in the countryside.
What? We're international up in here.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I've been following you people here long time now. I've given money already. I've given money.
Okay, thank you.
I just need to make sure the money goes where it needs to be.
Oh,
you,
And
Miss Tiff.
this is
Thank you.
nourishment for my soul. Nourishment.
what?
Mixed race poet here. I need this. I need this. So,
Wow,
and
you
I'm
made my day.
glad my neighbours are hearing all this too.
Now, just out of
Poet on the
curiosity,
porch.
what time is it in England?
I think it's about 1 o'clock now.
A.M.
AM or PM?
Yeah, a little bit later, maybe a bit later. He came in late and I just said, come on, get in, get in. And when you see me hugging him as he come in, my grandson, that's because I want to make sure he's safe.
I know that's right.
I already had that conversation with him as soon as lockdown happened. When you see the police, there will be a time to stand still and there will be a time to run. Now is the time to stand still.
Look at this.
He's like, what are you talking about, Nanny? I said, no, babe. I'm already gone, Armageddon. I'm gone down that road. Like shit is happening and it will be happening here. And people will be looking at you and me first. And you're on the street more than I am. So you need to be in, and yes, sir, just whatever, be polite, be quiet, be quiet.
Well, Tish,
I don't want him dead.
I thank you for tuning in. We're gonna have a panel discussion shortly after Andres and Keisha talks. I'm hoping you can stay awake long enough in England to participate in that. I really want to talk to you a little bit more. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Bless you, people. Lovely. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Tish. I'm gonna use your prompt. There'll be a time to stand still and a time to run. You already inspired me for a poem, so
good.
I'm gonna write it. We'll probably go back against some of it.
Good.
All right, so I'm about to do my second poem. This is something that I wrote a while back. Being a very outspoken gay brown-skinned man in a household, because all my family is very, very light-skinned. I'm the tallest, I'm the darkest, so I've always had to identify always with being of dark skin, and my mother would always have these conversations with me, just being a gay kid and being brown skin and being loud and being who I was, because I was a very loud child. I still am, but I'm more refined, I would like to think. So I've always wrote about color, and I've always wrote about identifying to it. I'm not one of those Latinos that don't know I'm African. I'm very aware. So here goes. My color leaves traces of memories embedded in your skin like scent that lingers on a freshly washed body. You will learn to know how I hold the sun as you lay witness to the browning of my skin without burning. You, being inspired, will start to reflect. You will let me know how you despise yourself, how your skin stretches like a tight canvas, desiring color to make it hold worth. You will kiss me and taste the ones before me, comparing my ancestry to your legacy, realizing that there is no honor amongst thieves. You will weep, realizing that feeling my strength is not just surface, that you can hear chants in my whispers, taste hope on my tongue, hear sermon in my words, feel spirit in my hips, see armies in my walk. When we part, you will learn words like revolution, guerrera, curandera, healer, warrior. You will fall asleep hearing the lullabies of my motherland, understanding that my rest is deeper than earth. Understanding that my rest is deeper than earth. You will understand that my rest is deeper than earth. Understanding why the texture of my hair has no rules, that the thickness of my lips were meant to hold words with weight, that the width of my chest holds more than burdens, it holds future. You will desire to copy me, wanting to inherit my birthright. It will walk you in your dead slumber. You gasping for air will not be free, knowing that I nor my kin will succumb to the chains that you thought held me. Yet I will teach you how to build. You will still leave your children for me to raise. I will pour my identity in every plate that I serve. I will continue to hold the sun, and you will want to find me knowing that I never left. Damn.
Oh, let me drop the fake microphone. Bam! Yes. You dropped. He said bam. Oh my God. The next time I get a chance to do an open mic or whatever, when I get done with my poem, I'm gonna go BAM!
Boom.
Right.
My goodness.
Yes, sir.
Everybody is
Thank you.
Yeah.
amazing. And you know what? I'm hoping y'all that when we are able to come together into a space, whether it be 6 feet apart or, you know, I know the New Eurekan holds 120 max, 50. I'm hoping that we can
I went to where Dia was.
come together
I want to
in
give two
person.
people. I want to give two people a shout out real quick.
I
want to give a shout out to Marilyn Diaz, Marilyn Diaz, thank you for putting this on your timeline and sharing it. I love you. Yo, Vanessa Acevedo, what's up, baby?
Okay. All right.
So lovely.
Since we're doing shout outs, I want to shout out Raul K. Rios. I'm going to unmute him. Raul K. Rios, my essential worker, AOC brother, what you got to say about all of this?
I appreciate a couple of seconds of fame. But anyway, on a serious note, yeah, I'm an essential worker, frontline. I tested positive on May 6th, but no symptoms. None whatsoever. Even right now, none. Yeah. Not sick, no sweats, no diarrhea. I didn't have to go outside and buy a 6-pack of Scott's toilet paper. No. So, you know, but as a mental health worker, knowing that you're in the streets, because May 6th was the last time I visited one of my clients. And then after that, I stood home working from home. So I was grateful for that I still remain with my job, just putting in my notes through the laptop. But it played with me so much mentally, so much that if I didn't have, you know, some of you guys that are on this web series right now, like Dr. Helena D. Lewis, Chulisi Bendición, you know, Nathan P. DOG, or the, you know, the Agents of Change crew, you know, texting me, calling me, my kids, you know, John Chance from Florida, you know, James Peach from upstate New York. All that was comforting. That got me through. Because if nobody checked up on me, I don't know if I'll be in this YouTube with you right now. It played with me. There was a guy out here in the Bronx, I don't know if it hit the news. The minute he found out he caught coronavirus, he went with a gun to a cop and he got shot because he caught coronavirus. He wanted to die. It played. I got 4 stents in my heart. I'm a diabetic with high blood pressure, a bullet in me, 2 stab wounds, 2 heart attacks. Whoo! God don't want me and Satan doesn't believe in me. So you know what? To all my orishas and everybody that prayed for me, I appreciate you. Prayers do work. I'm still here.
Raul, I know you have latinosnyc.org, so I just want to shout that out. latinosnyc.org, y'all. He's always doing something, fundraising. Christmas time was kind of hard. It's 3 Kings Day, correct?
Correct.
Where usually we would have, I would say we would have raised a little bit more money than we usually have done in the past, but you know, times is tough for everyone. But he went in his pocket to make sure that all of the kids at the program that he provide toys for were able to at least have a toy for 3 Kings Day. So I just want you to know, I love you, brother. Even though you and Nathan and Crow want to text people 5 o'clock in the morning, like I gotta go to work still.
Lord.
All right.
But you're not dialing those digits.
Mr.
Nathan, that's your fault, Nathan.
Andres, do you have any other poems you want to do before I bring on Lakeesha Eure? You good? He dancing.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, everyone. I didn't get her bio, so let me tell you what I know about this young lady. We are Facebook friends. We are also let me see. Let's mute the Nuyorican. Just let me know they're having some problems with the mute and unmute thing. It's a tech issue. So please, if you're not speaking, if y'all could do us a favor, just make sure you're on mute. I'm trying to police people, and you know I don't like using the word police. You know, but we were able to. We're in school. Well, I guess I'm done. Like, she's a second-year student. She's also the director at a domestic violence program. I'm not going to say where she works at because I don't know if she can announce that, so that'll be up to her. But she is somebody that is always on the streets in a good way. Protesting, bringing about, letting people know issues, where you can get services from clean water to baby clothes to toys to COVID-19 testing. Like, I don't know how she's the director of a program. I don't know how many staff she has underneath her. Every time I see her, she's at a protest. Then she's telling me, where you at? Come to the protest. And she's in school for her doctorate of social work as well. She is a trauma specialist, and I wanted her to come on to talk about what she does and to give us maybe some hope about dealing and processing with all the stuff that we have going on in the world. So please give it up for my good, close personal friends, Lakeesha Eure.
Hi, Helena. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hi, Dr. E. Hi, Nathan. Hi, everyone who's here. Rashad, everyone. I've been listening to the wonderful poetry. And I said to myself, I wish I had that gift. I don't have it, but I certainly send snaps and claps to everyone who does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So while we have you, because I know you do 1,001 things, what are you able to tell us about domestic violence and the rates of that going up or going down during the pandemic?
Okay, so I can share, you know, where I work and all of those things. Most people know. So my name is Lakeesha Eure. I manage the Office of Violence Prevention out of the Health Department in the city of Newark. And that entails the Shani Baraka Women's Resource Center for domestic violence and sexual assault. And I also manage a program for men who've been victims of violence and crime in the city of Newark, which encompasses community violence. So we decided to put all aspects of violence under one roof and under one umbrella. And so I'm managing that under the city. So since the pandemic, the Shani Baraka Center has been open every day. So I have been an in situ worker every day because we know that violence doesn't stop just because there's a pandemic. It doesn't stop rain, sleet, snow, no matter what's going on. So we would dare not be closed and close our doors to people who really needed help during this time. And so we just decreased our hours, but we were open every day. And at the center, we provide services. We have a grief counselor, homeless services. We have a job developer, mental health counselors, substance abuse counselors, sexual assault advocates, just a gamut of services. The women are able to come in and use the computers. We have a empowerment group happening every week. We have yoga. We give away clothes. We help people with shelter and food, just the whole gamut. So, you know, we know that people during this time was severely in need. So we really wanted to meet those needs: food, clothing, shelter, transportation. During the time with domestic violence, there was an increase in domestic violence during this time. Normally you get about 4,000 calls a year, but they were trying to compare, you know, statistics to see, you know, where numbers are in comparison, but they noticed that the numbers of calls had increased, but because people were sheltered in with their abusers, people weren't coming out to get the services. So the service numbers wasn't matching the calls that were coming in.
I can't even imagine being in a pandemic and then having to be forced to stay in a home with somebody who is abusing you and can't get out to get the services. And Keisha, if you can just discuss a little bit, because I hear I hear this a lot from people who are not in the business. I hear, well, why don't they just leave? It's not that simple to just get up and leave. You have children, you might not have your passport. People do various different things too. And I don't want to say just women, because men are also victims of domestic violence, and also people who are in same-sex relationship as well. If you can talk a little bit briefly about factors that might keep people from leaving, and how we shouldn't be shaming people who can't get out of the situation immediately.
Right. So just to go back a little bit, the shelter, the center is named after the mayor's sister. The mayor's sister was shot and killed as a result of domestic violence in 2003, but it wasn't a intimate partner relationship. It was her sister's husband, you know, and so it was her brother-in-law. So we have to understand that domestic violence is not just with people in a relationship, it's within your four walls. It can be family members, it can be, you know, anything. So we have to be mindful of what that is. And so we have people who are sheltered in with their abusers. In normal cases, they leave to go to work, to go to school in order to escape and not have to spend as much time as they usually spend with their abusers. And in turn, also with our children who go to school to escape sometimes child abuse. And so now we have people who are now sheltered in. So we try to give them through different websites, through different means of communication, we try to give them information to know that they can be relocated, that they can leave, that there are places that will help provide safe house for them. But many people stay because of the financial factor. Many of them can't afford to leave. They have children, and because of their own, you know, traumas or whatever it may be, most people want to give their children a chance to have a family. And they'll say they're willing to endure whatever, you know, it is in order to keep the family together. In which case we know that that's not healthy, and teaching about healthy and unhealthy relationships. And so, you know, we tell them to always make sure that they have their paperwork, their important documents, birth certificate, social security card, IDs, all of those things in one place, that if they need to grab and go, they can grab and go. Teaching them to save money or put cash money away, so that, you know, if they can't get their debit cards and they don't have access to their bank cards, then, you know, it's okay, they have cash. So giving them pointers and different things that they can do in order to prepare to leave. We know that it's not always, you know, I'm just walking out the door. We know that the perpetrators normally take their cell phones and computers so that they can't communicate with anyone. So they have to find, you know, ways to be able to communicate. And I always tell people to check in on their friends and family members. If they see something that's different, then to trust their gut to know that something may be wrong. And I know that domestic violence coalitions and alliances and national networks have put out information for people to be able to call the hotlines and the helplines. And they also tell providers to be able to look out for the signs when they come to the pharmacy. And if they write a certain thing on a paper, then they know that the abuser is nearby and that they need help. For doctors, when people come to the doctor's office, now they ask questions to help them to understand what may be happening, what may be going on, if they may be afraid to really express it verbally. So really helping providers, not just mental health providers, but healthcare providers, to understand and identify the signs and signals that a person may be going through abuse and violence. So, you know, those things are very, very important. And when people can't leave, we can't have family members and people that they know that's close to them blame them and shame them, because that means that many times they're going to regress and not trust you, and they're not going to, you know, confide in you to give you the information. And so as family and friends, we need to make sure we don't blame and shame the victims. We no more victim blaming and shaming.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I want to say two things. My internet is acting up. If for some reason I get disconnected, Nathan P, take over the show until I can get back on. But Keisha, if you can, my last question for you before we start the panel discussion, what advice do you have for us as a trauma specialist how we can have self-care for ourselves, and what do we do with all this stuff that's going on in the world. I know I'm not concise and I'm being very broad because this isn't my area of specialty. I know this is your thing, but if you can give us any advice about dealing with all this stuff that is going on with the George Floyd and just anything, what advice do you have for us?
So I'm going to be a hypocrite right now, right? Because I don't do self-care well, right? Because I'm always, like you said, I'm boots on the ground. I'm always there. I'm always on the front line, behind the line, the sideline, and taking calls and not getting sleep. So hypocritically, I would say to turn your phones off, you know, and schedule some time where you're not plugged in and not tuned in to emails, to phone calls, for you to not watch which type of media outlets that you're watching to get your information, because that matters, and making sure that you fact check any information that you do get, which is important. I would say any type of meditation, yoga, any type of way that you can quiet your mind. Take some time. If you wake up in the morning at 7, take an hour until about 8 to just quiet your mind and get your day started. I would say to write things down so that you can stay organized, because right now it's hard to stay focused between the pandemic and police brutality. This is, you know, complex trauma, right? We have complex trauma and we have complex grief happening right now. And so our trauma is on like 10. So I would just say ways that you take care of yourself is to hydrate. Make sure you're drinking enough fluids and water, because I know many of us are not eating and getting the nutrition that we need to get. So making sure that we stay hydrated, try to eat, you know, foods that's high in nutrition. Rest and sleep is major, in which case many of us are not getting sleep because we're anxious ourselves. We're on high anxiety. And so our brains won't be quiet. So if you can take little naps, you know, throughout the day, if that's possible. If it's not possible, then try to get to bed a little bit earlier. Those are just a few things that I would say to try to do in order to, you know, keep yourself grounded. Breathing exercises, talk to someone, a professional. I know a lot of times there's stigma attached to counseling and therapy, but I would say this is the time, if no other time, that you really should seek out some help, because there's so many ways that you can get to counseling. Many people didn't want to go into offices. Now you can get telehealth, where you can get it over the phone. You can do text messaging. You can do video messaging in the confines of your home. So there's no reason not to, you know, get help and talk to someone. And I know that talk therapy is not the only type of therapy. Everyone on this line seems to be artists. And so art may be the thing that you do. Music may be the thing that you do. Aromatherapy may be the thing that you do. Massage, if we're not allowing, you know, people to touch us, then we have to find other ways. But I would certainly say find whatever works for you and really hone in on that and just do it the best way you can do it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe we lost Andres. Hopefully he'll be able to come back, but I want to take the time to go into the panel. So all of my panelists, if you will unmute, please do so. I'm also going to unmute, I'm putting her on the spot. She might not like this, but Dr. Emily, I'm unmuting you as well, because I know that you are also on the front lines. So I'm asking to unmute you as well. Vanessa, I saw everything that you was typing in the chat room. You are clearly a frontline worker. I see you with the mask, and I just want to let you know that I'm going to keep all of y'all on my prayer list. In fact, I pray every day. Like I'm not the most religious person, but I'm very spiritual. I believe you put good karma into the universe. I'd be like, oh, dear God, you know, Mother Earth, like your God of your understanding, just heal us and keep everybody safe. Okay. Vanessa, can you hear me?
How do I pray on Skype?
I was trying to say, I wanted to see if you wanted to say something before we start the panel.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, because I was like, this sister is blowing up the chat. You go ahead. What do you want to say?
Well, no, first props to Keisha, because it warms my heart to know that that part of the world is blessed by her. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to be clear, I'm not actually a frontline worker. I'm a behind the scenes worker. So I'm social working from home. I'm taking one of my once to twice a week walks right now. As far as what I was going to say, it's basically just jumping off of what was already being said, how I work for a legal services agency that has a big social work team. So a lot of our colleagues are losing contact with clients or having to talk with them in secret, only at certain times, certain places, because their abusers are home. And a lot of my clients or our clients are grappling with staying home and risking more violence, or going into the shelter system or elsewhere and risking exposure to COVID. And it's not an easy decision. It's never been an easy decision to go into the shelter system, and much more so now. So it's just really heartbreaking to see what happens. You have abusers who by definition already have poor coping skills, right? And now they're home losing their jobs, getting stir crazy, can't do what they usually do, and they're home with all of that.
Right.
So our ability to provide any kind of support in that kind of environment is really critical.
Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing. And I just love the fact how we can all come together and put the pieces of the puzzle together for the populations that we serve. And when I say populations, like, I know a lot of times people like to throw race into the mix. Oh, it's black people, it's white people. And I always say this, I'll be like, we really need to look at who has the power and who has the structure. It's those with money versus those who don't. There's marginalized people across all ethnic backgrounds and diversity and religions and everything else. And it's just so important for us to continue to try and make the world a better place. Emily, I'm assuming you heard me that I asked to unmute you on purpose. All right, so we are going to get into the panel. We have about 15 minutes where we can talk. I'm a firm believer in keeping the show on time. I mean, like, it will not go past a certain time, because I'm just not gonna do that. All right, so I have a couple of questions that I'm going to start off by asking. Anybody in the panel, feel free to say that you want to answer. I guess when you talk, it'll light up. Emily from the New York Post Cafe can probably help me if I have any other tech problem. We clearly we lost Julie say, hopefully he'll be able to come back. But I know from his Facebook page that he was struggling a lot with this anxiety of getting up out of bed and going to work and trying to figure out, how do you not bring COVID-19 back home? Yes, he's back. Yeah. How did you? So let me just rephrase this to everybody that was hitting the doors. What was you doing? How did you deal with the anxiety of getting up and leaving your house every day, knowing that you could be infected with something that could potentially kill you, and bring it back not only to your home but to elderly family members? How did you deal with that?
It was really difficult for me. I'm usually a very level-headed person, and this is the first time that I actually, in my entire life of 52 years, caught anxiety attacks. I would get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and literally I had to walk. I would wake up my husband and be like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And we would have to take walks just to bring me down until a point where I just had to really come to a place where it's like, I got to go to work. I take care of my 82-year-old mom. Thank God that I'm not so close to her. She's in the living room. I'm in my room. That's how it's always been. I do feed her. I do bathe her. I do, she depends on me. But the only way that I was able to deal with it, honestly, Helena, thank God for writing. Thank God for singing. Because behind this, I'm also working with 2 producers on an album. So we were able I was able to have a creative outlet. And when I was at work, because of so many people calling out, I worked by myself. So I was able to control the area that I was in. And now I'm a whole lot better. I haven't had an anxiety attack in a month. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to die. We're going to be okay, girl. We're going to be fine. Just stay where you're at. Be mindful of washing your hand. Be mindful of talking to people. Always have your mask on. You know what I mean? But it was tough. for people who have anxiety, God bless you. It's immobilizing.
For me, I don't think I'm not somebody who has anxiety, but I found myself having like moments of panic, like just out of nowhere.
And that's for me, that's anxiety. I was like, it was bad. Like, it was very overwhelming. And then I'm a spiritual person. I do healing with my hands. Like, I have people that come and see me. I do healing. I do crystals and all that. And I started to realize that what was happening to me as well was that I had to close my walls of empathy up because I was picking up too much of what was going on outside. Too much of the deaths was affecting me. And I was like, what am I feeling? It's not mine. And I had to close the walls. Like, I had to go back into old school meditation and be like, let's shut this down. I gotta protect my spirit. Otherwise I'm gonna lose my mind. We can't do that. I'm already crazy as it is, girl.
I want to add, I don't know if anybody experienced this. There was, for those of you who don't know, I run a drug treatment program for women inmates in a community release setting. So at the time of this, we had 51 clients, and the population has been reduced due to this early release program that was implemented by the state of New Jersey. I don't know if it's in another state, I just know about New Jersey. But everything got turned around. Like, my schedule got switched around. We was trying to keep certain people on the building, and I realized I had got depressed. And what made me realize I was depressed is I would work 16 hours and then I would have to sleep for 2 days. Like, I was mentally and emotionally exhausted, and I was eating. I didn't want food. I wanted chips, donuts, Snickers, Milk Duds. If I didn't want anything healthy. And in the middle of all this, I was in school trying to do my last project, which was my MMP project. And when I tell you, there was a point when I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I can go to school, finish this project, work with the inmates, do this, take care of my father. And I literally like slept for like 2 days. And I remember calling Nathan P. and was like, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, you didn't come this far to fail. And I woke up, was like, I cannot afford to be depressed. I have to push certain things to the side and focus on what was important. And for me, that was my father, the dog, and the MMP project. You know, if it didn't revolve around those 3 things or taking care of the clients, I had to push things to the side. Because I had people coming up to me mad at me because I wouldn't drive them to, let's say, a store. Like, what? I don't have time for that. So I had to really like narrow who I dealt with. I don't know if anybody can speak to that. And Dr. E, not to put you on the spot, but how on earth did y'all manage to figure out how to move an entire program online? You know, I don't understand how y'all did that.
You know, I think what you're speaking to is what we all ended up doing when we found ourselves in this situation, which is that you have no choice but to keep going. I mean, you have a choice, but ultimately you exist and you breathe because that's all you can keep doing. And so, you know, we had students that needed an education, just like we have patients that need care. And you're part of a system where if you drop the ball or it's like a house of cards, everything tumbles. So I think those of us that are essential workers or work in these programs that are essential, we kind of see like there's no other choice but to just do. And so we did. And I think like I want to kind of honor the anxiety and panic and the just totally, your body shuts down because you just, everything in you tells you want to stop. And so for me, what kept me going was our students, you know, the fact that so many of our doctoral students are frontline workers, and I'm hearing these stories about how they're showing up for people and like you doing their MMPs, I mean, and doing their research. And I thought like, I can't stop because they're not stopping. And so you draw inspiration from the people around you. And I wish more people could see that like this universal humanity that happens in these moments. And I think it's the only way that you keep existing.
Thank you. I have a question. I'm gonna make it open-ended. 5 years from now, we are post-pandemic, everybody is safe. what do you think would be the lessons that you would want to share with other people in case this happens again?
Stay healthy. Eat healthy. My body, Helena, I've been vegetarian for overnight for 2 weeks, strictly. Why? The stress that my body and the anxiety that it hit, Helena, everything I put in my body rejected to a point that my esophagus was closing in on itself. When I went to get to a doctor, the doctor told me, he was like, you have to go vegetarian, Papi, because your acid in your body and the stress that it's going through because of the essential. I'm a frontline worker. Like, I'm there. When this was happening, I was an MTA. Like, that's what the hell I do. I could not avoid it. They were not paying us. They were not giving us time. They were like, either you there or you not. I got rent to pay. You know, I saved money, but still, you know what I mean? So if that, the first thing I would tell people is eat healthy, rest well, and enjoy the little things in life, because all that Gucci, Prada bullshit, that looking flossy ain't gonna do a damn thing, because honey, a damn thing. Take care with your body, take care of yourself, because when shit hits the fan, they don't care what the hell you got on. You're gonna die in a pair of drawn out panties and a fucked up bra.
Oh, okay. I see Raul, you wanted to get in on this? Oh, and then Tish, I'll get you next. Okay.
Just for a brief moment, I want to back what Trulisi was stating. When I found this out, that I was positive for the COVID-19, I wrote a status on Facebook that I would literally stay up past 12 o'clock so I can make sure that I lived another day. That's how it messed with me. I would literally stay up past 12. Okay, I made this day. Let me go and sleep. And if I wake, I wake. If I didn't, I'm still here. Listen, to everybody on this live, I thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
Bless
for
you.
doing what you're doing, regardless if you're in the MTA or wherever you're at. We're all front lines, all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. What kept me
One
going
thing I wanted to say
was that I know my spirituality is a lot stronger than my own mental health. I prayed a lot. I prayed so much that I think they got tired of me praying.
Okay.
I prayed so much.
Thank you, Raul. I'm going to bring Tish on, and then I'm going to ask that Nathan P. speaks next. Go ahead, Tish.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you, everyone. For your question, what would we do in 5 years' time? I hope I'm here in 5 years' time. I'm not a highly educated woman. I haven't had a baby when I was 16, and I threw myself in college and the baby in the creche. I went into youth and community work for 30 years in that, management, women's services, homelessness, this, that, and the other. But I have studied whatever I can online. And one of the things, very clever man, he was from Trinidad, my mother's Irish, and they split up when I was young, so he brought up 7 children on his own. And most of the stuff that I think my studiousness has come from him. So I've tried to study everything I can about whatever corona is, and specifically to the Black and minority ethnic communities, how it's affecting us worse, maybe. And if the doctor could do something on this as well. But what I've learned, and what we've all been told now, is the vitamin D3, high strength vitamin D3. I'm looking at science links now that's being sent to me by a friend on Facebook for science lectures. There's a scientist who's done 40 years just on vitamin D. And what he's saying, I mean, I don't want to push this out there. I'll ask you to look it up yourself. Scientist, 40 years, or I'll put it in the, if I come back in and I'll find the link, I'll put it up. But he's done 40 years on vitamin D, high strength, and for the black communities who won't be retained. I can't remember everything of it, but I know that when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking that makes sense. That makes sense. We definitely need to have a high strength. Without toxicity, It's not just 1,000 IU. It can go up to between 200 and 400 IU. So that's like not one a day, maybe 1, 2 or 3. But I would check that out yourselves. High strength vitamin C, exactly everything else about the just healthy eating. I've lost 2 stones since we went on lockdown.
Okay, what's 2 stones for us over here in the US of A?
I think it's about 25 pounds, 28 pounds nearly, or something like that.
Ooh, 2 stones.
Yeah, so it's a hell of a lot.
Okay.
It's a hell of a lot. And,
Tish, I don't mean to cut you off, but we are almost out of time, and I want to bring up Nathan P. So please forgive me. I want to make sure he gets a chance to speak as well. Okay, Nathan.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, just short and sweet. I just wish everybody would just embrace the notion of living in the moment. You know, we try to plan for the future, but sometimes you have to live in the moment and embrace the moment, even the simplest things. So many people now, as cities become open again, are realizing how simple pleasures of being in the sunshine should be cherished. And living in the now also means recognizing the now is only 1 second long. Because everything we said thus far is in the past. And sometimes it doesn't pay to worry about what you're going through. Instead, turn around and marvel at what you came through. Because that's what makes the difference.
Yes. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for participating in Essential Workers. I shared.
I want to thank you for putting this together.
Yes, thank you.
But thank you.
We want to thank HDL.
I got to shout out Emily because she was stalking her sister. I was like, do not contact me until after May 18th. May 18th and 1 second. She's like, boop, are you ready? I was like, yes, I am. Okay. But yeah, this is we need to do this. Like when they were shouting out the doctors and the nurses and stuff, I was like, what about the people who's working in the morgues? What about the people who are at and you know, higher learning and the school teachers? And what about the people who are delivering food and all this stuff? Like, because I went to when I think about what Tish was saying about people dying of this and, you know, people of color, think about who has the most menial jobs where you're face to face, the cashiers, the delivery people, the cab drivers, all of these low paying jobs that were not essential until now. Now it's essential. And I shared this with everybody before. My job gave me an extra $1.50 per hour. And then there was like, for every week that you work, we'll give you an extra 100. That's not enough. That was not enough. I did what I did because I'm a social worker and I was showing up for my clients. But don't think for one moment that I knew the severity of what I was walking into every day. So I applaud all of you on here. I want to share with you all my favorite song. It's by the LaBelles. It's called What Can I Do For You? I played it every day to close my set at the New Rican Poets Cafe. And I think that we all need truth. We all need love.
We all need each other. Thank you all for this time. If you ever need me, shout me out. HDLpoet.com. I'm always a text away. Oh.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. And thank you to our wonderful sponsors for the New Rican Poets Cafe. Thank you to our sponsors for making this night happening. Please donate if you can to our Cash App, New Rican Poets Cafe, Cash App, New Rican Poets Cafe, so we can keep the poetry going.
Bless you.
Tish.
Stay safe.
Tish.
Bless you, everyone. Bless you. Yay. And I'm a singer. I'm a singer as well.